Коллеги, мы начинаем. Давайте небольшое вступительное слово сделаем на русском языке. Потом мы подключим наших коллег, представителей вендора. Они будут выступать на английском языке, расскажут нам про решение класса PAM. Немножко начну с формата. Мы записываем это мероприятие. Соответственно, все, кто зарегистрировался на него, получат после обоих мероприятий, инженерного и силового, ссылки на записи и дополнительные материалы. Будет это отдельным письмом. Формат у нас следующий. Пожалуйста, послушайте презентацию. Будет демонстрационная часть. Если у вас возникают вопросы, пожалуйста, записывайте их сразу в чат. У нас сегодня, помимо представителей вендора, еще технические специалисты компании Factor Group. Factor Group – это официальный дистрибьютор компании Arcon на территории России постсоветского пространства. У нас есть своя компетенция, свои технические специалисты, и мы постараемся ответить на все ваши вопросы. Либо прямо по ходу в чате, либо попросим наших коллег, представителей вендора, это сделать. Сегодня с нами 3 человека, представляющие вендора. Это наш уважаемый спикер Зубер Шилкангар, это Харшавардхан Лале и Адитya Кумар. Если у вас возникнут какие-то сложности с английским языком, пожалуйста, можете писать ваши вопросы в чате на русском языке или попросить пояснить какие-то вещи. Мы постараемся вам перевести туда и обратно. Пожалуйста, обратите внимание на то, что решение компании Arcon в этом году попало в Гартнер в раздел «Лидеры» и по ряду тестов оказалось лучшим решением в классе PAM. Что довольно удивительно ввиду того, что компания индийская, обычно туда индийские компании в лидеры не пускают. Вот. Сам по себе факт – это уже мега-бомба, новость и, собственно, очень большой интерес к этому решению. И в это же время компания выходит на российский рынок. Я думаю, что у вас замечательная возможность одними из первых узнать, что это за решение. На этом, собственно, все. Я передаю слово нашему коллеге Зуберу. Зубер, you can talk it.
Hi,
You can start.
Dimitri. Yeah, I think before Zubair gets into starting his presentation, this is Harshvardhan Lale here. I am the Vice President for Business Development at Arcon, and I would really like to thank Factor Group for organizing this session with all of you. Also appreciate the participation here on this call. Thank you all for being here. The way we want to run the session is Zubair would initially give you a quick presentation about the product that we have, and subsequently he will then walk you through the features and functionalities of the product by giving a demonstration of the entire tool. To give a quick background about Arcon, Arcon is one of the key players in the privileged access management domain. We happen to be part of the Gartner's leadership quadrant. We are only behind a CyberArk in the leadership quadrant. There is the critical capabilities, which is published by Gartner, which talks about the technical abilities of a tool. And Arcon happens to be number 1 in all the 5 critical capabilities listed. I'm sure Zubair would try and cover all of this in his presentation. So without taking much time, I will hand it over to Zubair. He will start with the presentation for the tools. So he will list down the features, functionalities first, and then demonstrate the tool to you. Thanks a lot for participating, and over to you, Zubair.
Thank you, Harshvardhan.
Yeah, well, thanks, Harsh, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Zubair, and I handle technical pre-sales at Arcon, and I also do the solutioning for the cloud team. So I'll be sharing my screen. Please let me know if my screen is visible.
Please start share. Can you take demonstration? Yes, we are seeing.
Okay. So my screen is visible, right?
Yes, Zubair.
Okay, so let's start. So as Harsh has already talked about Arcon as a cybersecurity solution. So today we will be discussing one of our star product, which is called Arcon PAM, which is Arcon Privileged Access Management Solution. So let's start, guys. So basically, like these are the portfolio of the products which we have in a bucket, and out of this we have Privilege Access Management, PAM Enterprise, we have PAM on Cloud, we have Privilege Access Management light version of it, we have Endpoint Privilege Management, we have User Behavior Analytics, Data Intellect, Security Compliance Management, Identity and Access Management, and so on. So these are the like portfolio of our products. Today we would be discussing about Privilege Access Management Enterprise, which is the complete version. So basically, like as we are all into this industry, you might be aware of like how the credentials, like how the credentials are floating in an environment, why there is a need of unprivileged access management. So basically what happens, like in an organization, there is a group of privileged users such as Windows administrators, Linux administrators, and they like do certain activities on Windows servers, Linux servers. They rotate the password, they set the password policy, something like that. And if suppose there are a list of servers which in your organization, for example, more than 100 servers, so what they do, like they maintain an Excel with an password on it. So this comes very critical when you write down a password on some sheet, or like you keep it on an Excel sheet or notepad sheet or any cloud sheet. This is very critical, right? If that sheet is compromised, whole infrastructure is visible for the hacker, right? So this in case, like if suppose in your organization, if some administrator is requesting a password, the passwords is usually shared on chat. So this is all critical, right? This can be compromised, and a hacker can use this credentials for exploiting that servers. So the basically what privilege access management do is like the administrators, they have only the visibility of servers which is meant to access to them. So for example, I am one of your database administrator. I would only have the access to that database server which is meant for use to me, not for all the servers in infrastructure. So this is one of the root cause where like shared privilege credentials, lack of accountability, lack of audit trial. So in case of any incident happen, you would not be able to have a track of it, like which user had used these servers in the past, what activity they have performed in the past. So there is a need of privilege access management which can give you the access as well as monitor that access, whatever that user is performing on that server. So moving ahead, right now if you screen on this screen, on the left hand side, if you see full access, so this full access means your cloud users, your administrators, your root users, your system admins, your third party consultants, they have all the visibility towards your infrastructure, be it your cloud data center, your in-house data center, your third party data center. Once they are part of your network, everything is accessible to them, and they can access each and everything from their machine, basically, if they are in the network. So it creates a mesh algorithm where like all the users can access all the servers because they are part of the network. Now on the right hand side, if you see, like it's a controlled access. Basically when you introduce Arcon PAM, okay, so every access is brokered through Arcon PAM. So what happened, it actually classifies your access, and like it also like limits the administrator to a server, so that even he is a part of your infrastructure, all the servers are not accessible to them. So that is the beauty of a product. So if it is clearly visible, like when you have full access and when you have control access, how classified it is, and it is very easy to track and block the access for the administrators or the root accounts from the end user machine once you take the access through Arcon PAM. So moving ahead, when we talk about PAM solutions, this is like for these are the 4 pillars, which is like a mandatory feature, which you called it as a, you can also call it as a feature, which should be there in a PAM solution. So basically password vault is one of the pillar. Basically we have a password vault module. What it does, it's you can schedule the password change, you can change the password envelope management, everything is like logged into that. Then we have single sign-on. It is one of the important factor where, for example, let's assume you have a administrator who need to access 10 servers, for example. He just need to do a login into Arcon PAM, and whatever server access he has, he would be able to access in a single click. So basically a single sign-on is achieved, be it a Windows server, be it a Linux server, be it a database server, be it any web applications, be any connector, third-party connector. We provide single sign-on on all the applications, which is standard application, global application, which is out there in the market. So the next pillar is the privileged session management. So basically it ensures like whatever session is brokered through Arcon PAM, everything is getting recorded in real-time session management. We have a video log and text log as well. So in real-time session management, that session can be monitored in real time. We can also give you the historic video log of the sessions, old sessions, be it a 1 day old session, 1 week old session. You can get all the video logs and text logs of that old session which you have brokered through PAM. And then it comes access control and granular access management. So basically like what it means is like on when you take an access through PAM, you can do a granular access control. Means, for example, let's assume you are connected to some Linux server, okay, and you want to block that user to execute some critical commands. That is possible through Arcon PAM when you broker the connection through Arcon PAM. So these are the standard pillars. Now let's talk about the features. Basically like these features are nothing but the real like industry problems which Arcon PAM is solving, and you can name it as features of Arcon PAM. So let's start with password vault. So basically Arcon PAM has a capability for vaulting the password for your Windows servers, for your unique devices, for your database servers, be it Oracle, SQL, DB2, MS SQL, be a network devices, for example, EN accounts, your security devices, SA accounts, super admin accounts. You can vault the password of each and every devices which is there inside your organization. So basically what it ensures a zero trust environment. So whatever passwords are getting vaulted, these passwords are only known by Arcon PAM. No one in your organization, no human intervention is there who knows the password. Only Arcon PAM knows the password, and whenever you take a session, Arcon PAM enters the credentials for you, and that session is established for you. So in a real time, you will never know the password, so that all the password related like incidents, be it a password theft or password misuse or credential misuse, all that can be avoided with this environment. So password vault is one of the environment, one of the standard feature which we offer with Arcon PAM. The second feature is single sign-on. As I discussed, like in infrastructure, Windows administrator is let's assume you administrate. There are multiple administrators, multiple privilege IDs. It can be a Windows administrator. It can be a root account of any Linux server. It can be a SE account of any database database server. It can be EN account of any network devices. We provide single sign-on for all the applications or all the servers inside your infrastructure. So we can cover the web applications as well. We provide single sign-on on the third-party applications as well. So let's assume there are some third-party applications which the end users are using. We can provide that single sign-on for the third-party application as well. So in the demo, I'll be giving you single sign-on for, like, we would be covering for most of the connectors which we have. Privileged session management, as I discussed. So whatever sessions you broker through Arcon PAM, we provide the video log, we provide the text log, we provide the command based log, we also provide the process based log. So all type of logs, whenever a session is brokered, be it a video log, every logs is getting captured, and you would be able to access each and every log. Coming to the next point, granular access. As I said, like you can do the virtual grouping based on the servers. You can provide the access, be it a permanent access to the end users, be it a time-based access, be it a one-time access, or you can also do the blacklisting of the commands and processes. Even that is possible when you broker a session through Arcon PAM. As I discussed web, we can also integrate the web applications, and we can also do the single sign-on on a web application. We can also do the session management, password management on the web application. So be it any cloud web applications which you use inside your infrastructure, or any inside homegrown web applications which you use intranet inside your organization, we can integrate all your web application through Arcon PAM, so that the users, whenever they are taking the access, a single sign-on is done, and whatever activity that user is performing on that web application, everything is getting captured. Moving ahead, like these are the authentications parameter, basically, which is we are compliant with. We are multi-tenant. We can achieve multi-tenancy. So basically, let's assume, like for example, there are different line of businesses. Let's assume where you need to do a logical isolation between the different group of businesses. So let's assume you have some cement industry, you have some IT industry. Under a single umbrella, you have different industries where the users and servers would be isolated to each other. We can achieve that through Arcon PAM with a single instance. We are compliant with multi-domain infrastructure. So let's assume, like, you have a multi-domain architecture inside your organization. You can integrate multi-domain with Arcon PAM as well. There is no issue with that. We can do local authentication. So this comes handy in where, like, if suppose you need to give access to any third party vendor, so you would not like to create that IDs on your AD, right? So you would like to create the IDs on the local authentication. So basically, you can create that vendor's ID in Arcon PAM, and it would only restricted to PAM. It would not get created in any of your servers or infrastructure. That ID is only restricted to PAM, and the authentication is done by Arcon PAM. So we can achieve that. We can integrate your AD. We can direct AD Active Directory. We can integrate your LDAP directory. We can integrate any of your directory, Azure AD, for example, cloud directory. We are compliant with all that. We can also ensure a dual factor authentication, or we can also assure multi-factor authentication if you want. So you can configure email OTP, we can configure SMS OTP, we can configure RSA tokens, we can configure hardware tokens along with Arcon PAM. So our solution is such flexible that we also have our own two-factor authentication for the mobile application. You can use our own solution for the two-factor authentication to log in into Arcon PAM. And on top of that, we are also compliant with compatible with Google Authenticator. We are also compatible with Microsoft Authenticator. We are all compatible with all the software token which is there out in the market. The next come the access cards. We can also integrate your access cards. For example, the server room. You can also integrate an access card with Arcon PAM, and web-based access, as we have already discussed. So all the web applications inside your organization can be integrated through Arcon PAM. I'll be giving you I'll be covering this under the demonstration so that it is more clear to you. So coming to the next feature, we have a very like user-friendly approach for the administrators to access the servers, which we called as a multi-tab view. So basically, it is very easy to navigate for the admins in between multiple sessions. So the way if you guys are familiar with VMware GUI, the way it opens the different tabs for the each and every connection, the same way you can achieve Arcon PAM to open different connections, be it a SSH connection, be it a Windows Server connection, be it a SSH router. Everything is compatible with Arcon PAM, and there is no need to toggle into multiple windows because it comes under a single window where it is distinguished in terms of tabs. Different tabs is getting listed in front of that. So talking about auto onboarding, this is one of the feature which is like key differentiator for us. So basically what it does is like you can do a complete AD onboarding. So the moment when a user is created in your Active Directory, that user will also get onboarded in our Arcon PAM. And the moment when any servers are getting onboarded in your Active Directory, that servers will also get onboarded in Arcon PAM. And that you can also do a deep dive into that, where you can also configure if a user is getting added into a so and so group, then that server access should also get mapped to it automatically. So there is no human intervention needed for like assigning servers to the users. It is all automated with this module, auto onboarding. So this is one of the key differentiator which is live with most of the clients, where the users and the servers are automatically onboarded in Arcon PAM without any human intervention. So the next is smart session monitoring, as we have already discussed. So like it gives you the more granular view. For example, at what time what command was executed, like whether it was a left click, whether a delete key was pressed. All that keystrokes are getting captured, all the keyboard and mouse activities captured at in terms of video log. So you can also like invest for the investigation purpose. You not only get the video logs, but you also get the smart session monitoring in terms of keystrokes as well as the mouse activities what the user has done on that in that particular session. So that is also part of Arcon PAM. So now let's discuss about the flow. Before going to flow, like do you have guys have any questions related to this? I'll consider that no, and I'll move ahead. So let's talk about the access flow, how the access is going on. So like if you see a flow, it is also one of the key differentiator. Basically what happens, like when you talk about the competitors, they all have the jump server architecture model. Okay, so whatever sessions the users are getting broker, all the sessions are getting actually created on the jump server to the target server. But in Arcon PAM, the sessions are established from the end user machine, and it is routed through the secure gateway to the target server. So basically it distributes the load among the end user machines. It is so let's assume, I'll give you an example, standard example. Let's assume you have a 50 users, okay, and you have placed one jump server in between to access your target servers. So all the 50 servers, whatever connections which they are brokering from that users are brokering. For example, let's assume they have established 70 connections. The fact that 50 users has established 70 connections, that 70 connections are actually established from the jump server to the target server, and the load of that 70 connections are all accumulated on that single jump server from where it has to route to the target server. But in Arcon PAM, let's assume the same example. You have 50 users, okay, and you need to connect to the target server. So that 70 connections what these end users are taking, all the loads are distributed among that 50 users, so that the resources and the performance and the usability is not getting hampered. So the end users are getting seamless experience. They are not getting any slowness issue, they are not getting any performance issue, because the sessions are brokered from their machine and they are routed through a secure connection to secure gateway to the target server. So as you can see here, this is the end user machine, and like from this end user machine, like he would open Arcon URL, he will do the authentication. Once he is once he broker the connection is routed from his machine to the target server. So this is the route which Arcon follows, so that the users are not facing any issues. So I'll give you the example of this in the while giving you the demo. So let's talk about this scalable architecture. So basically, like we are using one unique tunneling architecture for high scalability. So basically, what you can do, like you can add multiple application server, you can add multiple gateway servers to achieve high availability. And also, like if suppose in case you have a huge number of end users and target servers, it can be served with a simple like two gateway servers sitting under the load balancer. So it's that simple. You don't need an army of jump server to take connection to the army of target servers. You need only one or two gateway servers to connect to that servers. So it's that easy. On top of that, if you see the competitors, they're using the jump server architecture of Microsoft, where there is additional licensing placed in terms of CAL licensing, RDS licensings. But when you use a unique tunneling technology, we deploy it on a Linux box, which does not need any licensing. You can add as many servers if you under the load balancer, and it will do the same work as it used to do for the single user. So this is one of the case for how the architecture is highly scalable, and a solution is completely software based. You can also deploy a solution on your VMs or any physical server. It is compatible with both. So these are some of the third-party dual-factor authentications which we are compliant, which we have already done it. You can integrate if you have these any of these third-party applications for dual-factor authentication. You can integrate with Arcon PAM. So these are some of the third-party tools which we have integrated for as our framework is API driven. We are very easy, like we can very easily integrate with any of the solution in that market. So for example, we can integrate our PAM solution to with the SIEM tools such as QRadar, McAfee, ArcSight, RSA. We can also integrate our solution with the change management, ServiceNow, BM Software, Manage Engine, Microsoft. We can also integrate our solution with the IAM connectors such as SailPoint, RSA, Oracle, as well as our own IAM connectors. So as I said, it's completely API driven, and it's very easy to integrate with any of the solutions in the market, which can be easily configured with the API. So talking about the privilege access management, so you can like divide this privilege access management in terms of 3 points. Let's take security, efficiency, and compliance. So for security, we can give fine-grained access control, we can give password vaulting, we can give SSH key rotation, we can give multi-factor authentication, we can give password reconciliation, we can give just-in-time access, we have my vault feature, which we can also ensure security. We can do app-to-app password management, and we can also configure with the application gateway. So as we all know, like security are layers. You just need to keep add on the layer for ensuring more security. So Arcon PAM, you can like ensure these number of features to ensure more security in your organization. When we talk about efficiency, so what you can do virtual grouping, you can, which will classify your network, basically which will classify your access. You can also set up a workflow management, you can do privilege elevation delegation management, you can do AD bridging, you can do auto discovery, you can do single sign on, user onboarding, one admin control, multi-tab feature, desk insight. So this will ensure your efficiency for the user. So basically when we say efficiency for the end users, it is more efficient because they just need to do a click and the single sign-on is done, and whatever connection they want to access, that connection would get established from the machine. For the administrators, it is more efficient because everything is classified and everything, they have a bird eye view on top of that, so that they can manage and control each and every activity in your infrastructure. When you talk about compliance, like you get each and every like customized report, text and video logs, session monitoring, dashboard and reporting tools. So you can also you can also ensure your compliance is also met with these features. So these were some of the features which can be divided into security, efficiency, and compliance. So let's talk about this. We consecutively, as Harsh has already discussed this, Arcon named as a leader once again in 2022 in Gartner's Magic Quadrant. So we are very neck to neck with our competitor, which is CyberArk. And like if you see, like I'll just show you this slide. So we have also when you compare with 2021, we have better position with CyberArk in terms of ability to execute. So Gartner has placed one report which says that this critical capabilities for privilege access management. And if you see, they have product and service score for a privilege access session monitoring session. This one, first one, where Arcon has scored 4.03 and CyberArk has scored 3.88, and Arcon is way ahead with the competitors when it comes to privilege access session monitoring. When it comes to privilege endpoint, privilege elevation and delegation management, Arcon is neck to neck with Arcon is again leader and neck to neck with Beyond Trust. And if you see the CyberArk, which is the leader, it is like by surpassing CyberArk with around with huge margin. When it comes to the Unix and Linux privilege elevation denial management, again Arcon is the leader in that. When it comes to the secret management, again Arcon is leader in that. And this is like Gartner report, so you can have a reference for that. Like when it comes to critical capabilities, we are the leader in the market. So this is one of the comparison where like how we are better with the CyberArk right now. So right now, like if you see, like we are very neck to neck with CyberArk, but when you see our like strategies and when you see how we implement a solution, we have way ahead edge on top of CyberArk. So let's discuss one of the pointers in this. So when we talk about technology architecture wise, so as I already discussed, CyberArk uses jump server based architecture, where like all the loads is getting accumulated on a jump server, and you have to do high availability of jump server. So basically, for example, you let's assume you have 1,000 servers, target servers. You need to create an army of the jump servers to access that server. So which is not a right approach, because when you see our approach, we are totally network distributed architecture, where the loads and the sessions are getting established from the end user machine, and we ensure high performance and high scalability along with that. So when you come with the authentication, they have a separate licensing model for each and every modules which you have. Everything is module wise. But when you PAM, you see PAM is like bundled in one solution, where like each and every feature is which is under that umbrella. So you have the benefit, you had an advantage on that. So when you see, like there is no inbuilt file transfer for Linux and Unix, and we have multiple connectors. On top of that, we have our own connector for doing the file transfers. So this is one of our specialty. We are very flexible with the connectors. So once you see, I'll show you in the demo, we have more than 500 list of libraries for the connectors, which is already inbuilt with Arcon PAM. You just need to select the proper appropriate application from the library, and it is just kind of plug and play. You would be able to use it. As I already discussed, multi-tab is one of the feature which is user friendly for the administrators. We have multi-tab views for that. Solution wise also, if you see, like they are like software based, but only works with some dedicated hardwares. But as I said, we are completely a software based solutions. You can deploy us on VM, physical servers, any of them. So now let's come to the implementation. So implementation, when we say, we have a lot of strategies, we have grown from last 15 years, we have learned from our mistakes. Now we have created a lot of strategies for the implementation, where the implementation is very smooth, and it can be like finished within like 2 or 3 weeks based on the scale. We have the support timings. If you see, like when you compare neck to neck with CyberArk, they have a limited support, and on top of that, there is a model for the support as well, but we give 24 by support. We also discussed about connectors. They have very limited connected libraries, but as I said, we have like here it is mentioned 300, but I'm sure we have like bypassed that number with 500 now currently, and we have more than 500 connectors in the library which you can easily integrate. And let's assume, like let's assume in Russia, for example, there might be a lot of homegrown applications which is not global, in your banking sector, in your like finance sector, in your insurance sector, in your telecommunication sector. So we have a flexibility, we have a connector framework which is such flexible, where you can integrate a new connector within 2 working days, and that would be a part of Arcon connector list. So we are that fast to onboard any connector. So that's the reason we have successfully like grown more than 500 list of connector libraries. That is one of like one of our selling point, which you can say USP when it comes to the connectors. When it comes to patches and upgrade, like once a year, but here, like if you see compare with Arcon, like every quarterly we come up with the bug fixes, we come up with the enhancement features and functionality. We also do a specific client customization, for example, based on the requirement, but we are open to that. We never say no to any of the client when it comes to features. So upgrade approach as well. So let's assume like upgrade in CyberArk, like they have partners, they have a network of the partners, and they do it. CyberArk don't get involved with the upgrades directly. But when you see Arcon PAM upgrades, like we have a dedicated support team members which is assigned to the organization or any like any banking firm, any organization, be it. So we have a dedicated support team which is getting assigned to that organization. He is well aware of their infrastructure. He is well aware of each and every challenges which is there in that infrastructure, and he creates a proper plan of action before doing an upgrade. In that plan of action, there is like each and every scenario which is covered, be it an upgrade, be it a failover, everything is which is covered in that plan. And then we do the upgrade with actual support team does the upgrade for the customer. So that is like add-on benefit when you go with Arcon PAM. You can also see the high availability and disaster recovery. So if you compare with CyberArk, like they have the high availability and DR solution, but the process is very complex. But when it comes to PAM, it is very seamless. And also for the DR drill activity, we ensure that our support team member is on the call with your professionals, so that they have a view. They also can help us guide the end users for doing the DR drill. So that is also the added benefit for that. Centralized and decentralized implementation. So based CyberArk doesn't support that, but Arcon PAM support the centralized and decentralized installations. It also supports the geolocation implementation which we have done in the past. So everything is which is possible with Arcon PAM. So key, as one of the more feature which is talk about key based search in the video logs. So like as I said, like you can also search in the video log based on the keystrokes which were entered. So for example, you can also search if you with the delete command. So you will get all the list of users who has executed the delete command. So it is that simple. So that's it from my side. Any questions? I would be like happy to answer that before I start the demo.
Seems there are not so many questions.
I think Zubair, let's go over the demo first. So a lot of the
Okay.
questions will automatically be answered, and then at
Okay.
the end, let us take the questions so that people will have better questions to ask.
Okay, no problem. So like whatever I showcased in the like presentation, like I like to cover most of that part in the demo, so that even if you have any questions, any doubt in your mind, that would get cleared. So right now, if you see, like this is the login page of Arcon PAM. Okay, so this is the authentication page. So basically the flow would be like, let's assume in your organization, like let's assume you are already using PAM, then you would be known to this page. If suppose you're not using the PAM, so the users have the habit of directly taking the connections to the RDP, to any SSH server, to any database server. But with the PAM, you have to log into the portal first. So the moment this login page comes in front of you, you will load this URL, and then you will be doing the authentication for the Arcon PAM. So basically, as I discussed, authentication, we can also integrate our solution with your AD, with your Active Directory, so that a user don't need to remember one new credentials. So based on that, you can also integrate with your Active Directory, so that it becomes very easy for your users to not log in into the Arcon PAM solution directly with the Windows credentials, which they use for the signing into the laptop. So right now I have one user which is called David Jones. He is my on-premise administrator. He is a dummy user, of course. So I'll just log in with his credentials, and I'll show you how the look and feel is. So right now, if you see David, I have entered the username, I have entered the password. So these are the drop downs where you can select the Active Directory. So if suppose the user is of Active Directory user, he will select the Active Directory from the drop down. If the user is not Active Directory user, he'll select the Arcos auth. So this Arcos auth states that this is a local user in Arcon PAM. This entity is not floating anywhere inside your organization. This is only restricted to Arcon PAM. And anyways, we can also integrate our solution with Microsoft AD as well as Azure AD as well. So right now, if you see, this is my access page, basically, which consists of a line of business filter. It consists of a service type filter. It also consists of a filter which is IP address based. So these are some of the filters which helps your administrator to narrow down the search for the servers and take the single sign on. So basically, as if you see, this is like I only get my access and about page for the login into this when I log in into this. and here I get the LOB filter. So this user, if you see, just note down this name, Arcon on-prem. So David Jones is one of my user who is like on-prem resources administrator. The next filter is get you see is like based on the service type. So whatever servers, whatever service types are assigned to me based on the connectors, I get the list of the drop downs which is assigned to me. So right now you see it consists of an app web browser, app WinSCP, SSH Linux, Windows RDP. So here you get the filters. If suppose you have some work on the Windows server, you will just select the Windows RDP, and whatever Windows server is assigned to your under your bucket will get populated on this screen. So right now I have only one server under my bucket which is getting populated. Similarly, if I suppose I want to see whatever SSH Linux connection I have, I'll just select the filter SSH Linux, and whatever SSH Linux connections I have, it will get populated. So let's proceed with the demo. And this there is one more checkbox which says all. So whatever services which are assigned to David Jones will get populated under this list, and I can select the server for which I need to take the connection. So let's assume like David Jones does not have all the visibility inside your infrastructure. He has access to only this 5 servers which he can take the access. So I'll start with the Windows RDP, and I'll show how fast this connection is getting brokered through Arcon PAM. So I'll just select the terminal, and it will broker the connection. It will launch the connector, and the moment the session is established, this is the connection which is getting established. So now if you see whatever activity on this server I am performing, that user is performing, everything is getting recorded. So I'll just open a notepad, and I'll type this is a test session, just for an idea that whatever activity which I am doing, everything is getting recorded. Okay, so this is one of the session. Let's assume like a few activities I'm doing more. Every keyboard and mouse activity which I am doing under this server, everything is getting recorded. So this is one of the added advantage, like in terms of historic log. If we also give the historic log, so that the user, if suppose in the past whatever activity he has done, everything is visible to you. So this was one of the example for the connector type. I'll just close the notepad as well, and I'll disconnect the session. So if you see like how fast the connection was brokered. So now if you see our competitors, what they do, they like whenever you try to click the connection, the specific thick client is getting downloaded. You just from the downloads, you just need to double click on that connector, and then it is getting launched. But from Arcon PAM, it is like all the experience is seamless. I'll show you for the user, for the Linux admin. Okay, how the Linux session is getting brokered. So the moment I click here, the session is getting brokered, and then whatever activity I am performing under the Linux, we get both the command logs as well as the video logs. So now if you see the connection is established, it is logged in with Ubuntu user, and it has done the single sign-on with Ubuntu user. And now whatever activity I am doing inside this, everything is recorded. So let's assume ls is one of the command, date is one of the command, and ifconfig is one of the command. So these are list of commands which are getting executed. So whatever commands is getting executed, I get the video recording for all the commands which were executed, the command log as well as the video recording. So I'll just execute like try to execute all these commands just to have I will be able to show you. So this is like one of the user, let's assume like where all profile, where all the commands were whitelist to them, to this user. So I'll just disconnect this session, and I'll show you one more session where the commands are getting granular access, where the commands are getting blocked. So I'll open one more connection, Linux connection. Okay, and I'll show you how the connections are the commands are blocked, and the user does not have the privilege to execute any critical commands. So now if you see, now the user is logged in with the demo, for example. So now if you see, it has also done the single sign-on. I would like to highlight one of the pointer. So now if you see the connector which is launched, it is the native putty connection. putty connector. So in your organization, like all over the globe, the network administrators, the Linux administrators, they have a habit of using the Linux, the putty for taking the connection. So they are very the putty is very user friendly with that administrator, and they don't want to compromise on the user experience which they gets on the putty. So what Arcon has done, if you see, it has launched the same putty connection. On top of it, we have like embedded our code for the video recording and the command restrictions. So this is the native putty experience which the users are getting, so that the user experience are not getting, like they don't have to change the user experience in order to get more secure. Arcon PAM has the flexibility to onboard the same applications which users are using through Arcon PAM, so that the user experience is seamless. So they don't hesitate to use Arcon PAM. So that is one of the very differentiating point for us. So this is one of the example where I have where I got connected. Now if you see, like I don't want this user to execute ls command. So now if you see, you get a pop-up, contact Arcos administrator to get the access on the restricted command. So this is one of the type. Let's I don't want this user to execute chmod command. So this is also like restricted. So we have like pre-built library of commands, critical commands, where you can specify, it's all under configurations, where you just need to specify which commands you need to blacklist that command, so that the users would not able to execute this command whenever they broker the connection through Arcon PAM. On top of that, we have a flexibility where you can add your custom commands into that library and also restrict that command. So that we are open to add, you are also open, like we understand that in your organization there might be some custom commands which is getting executed. You can also include the custom commands in that library and block that commands. So this is one of the key feature of Arcon PAM, which ensures the granular access, so that you can restrict the user with the critical command. So this is one of the example of the critical commands which I gave you. Now let's move on to the one of the browser. I have one EXXI lab which with me, and like I just want to onboard that browser with Arcon PAM. So like I'll show you one web application how it works. So now if you see, it is loading connector. Okay, now it has loaded. I just need to do the auto login, and it will log in and take me to that GUI. Okay, what Arcon does is Arcon launch one secure browser. Okay, if you see, this is one of the secure browser. Inside that browser, it loads that URL, it enters the credentials for you, and then whatever activity that administrator, that EXXI administrator, that root account is doing, okay, everything is getting recorded. So all the keyboard and mouse activity, even on your web applications, everything is getting recorded. So this is one of my in-house web applications which I have onboarded. So whatever, like this user, if suppose any incident happened in future and you want to view the video recording of the web application also, even that is possible through Arcon PAM. So now if you see, this was one of the example of the web application which I had brokered the connection. Now I'll show you one like third party application. Okay, so like as in the network administrators, in the Linux administrators, they have a habit of using the third party application for file transfer. So we have a flexibility for onboarding the file transfer application, be it a FileZilla, be it App Winicipi. So we have the flexibility to onboard that application. What Arcon will does, it will launch that application, it will do the single sign-on for you. One moment. It will do the single sign-on for me, and now if you see, like that application is loaded. Okay, so now whatever file transfer I am doing from my machine to that server, every file transfer, everything is getting recorded. You have a bird eye view of everything what I have done. So that is one of the key advantage for using Arcon PAM. So these are like some of the example of the connectors. Now I'll show you how. So this David Jones is like one of my like end user who is an administrator of the infrastructure. Okay, now I'll give you one example like how the administrator view looks like I'll just do one thing. I'll just open an incognito mode window, and I'll log in with my administrator profile, so that I can show you side by side how the look and feel is different for the Arcon administrator and a normal user who needs to take the Arcos access. So Arcos admin is my Arcon PIM admin, the portal admin basically. So I'll just log in with his credentials. One moment, I just entered the wrong credentials. So basically what you can do, you can also set an alert for the invalid login. So it generates an alert and it will send you that from this machine, like incorrect login attempt was made. You can also configure the same with your SIM triggers. So it will send the details to your SIM logs. So from where you can also do the investigation and incident management from that tool. So we are that flexible. So now if you see, like there is a difference, right? So if you see this Arcos admin, he gets a list of more features like my access manager, reports, dashboard, night analytics. And a normal user who is a normal user as this user, he gets only 2 tabs because his role is only to log in and take the access of the servers. That's it. For the Arcos administrator, he has a different role, right? He has to, like, he has a visibility for reports, he has a visibility for live dashboard, he has a visibility of like managing console. Everything comes for the Arcos administrator. So this is like one of the status, like from where you can like have a look on like what are the number of users who are logged in. So if you click on more info, you get the 2 details, like Arcos admin is logged in, David Jones is logged in right now in this demo environment. And you can also view the number of service which are being accessed currently. So from here, like this is like one of the important screen which is in the security operation center. This screen is getting monitored continuously so that you can that Arcon administrator has a view on top of like what is happening in his infrastructure. Critical commands executed also, like there is, you get the count like how many commands were executed. So we have executed some critical commands, if you remember, like executed chmod, I executed ls. So it gives me the details like which restricted command was executed, and like what was the service type, what was the username, what is the server IP, what is the start time and end time of that command. So you get all these critical details under this critical command fire executed command tab. And there is one more option, open password. So we'll keep it on the side, we'll discuss this when we would be discussing during the password management. So this is one of the dashboard console. Now let's go to the report section. So report section is one of the key, like we have already more than 80 reports, static reports, which is like which is all pre-configured. You just need to search on terms of keyword. I'll just type critical for the example. Okay, so under security reports, you see that critical command executed, for example. So you just do the filter, like just do the filter, and what based on your filter search, it will give you a report. This can be scheduled. You can get an every like day wise report. You can get the week wise report, how many commands were executed, which user executed what command. And these reports are like easily downloadable. You can download to CSV, Excel format, Word format, or PDF format. Based on your requirement, you can also download this report. So these were only the example of one of the report. But if you see, like there are a lot of reports under each section. LOB wise report. So based on the LOB, based on the logs, line of business, everything, like you just need to search the keyword of what report you want, or you just you can go and deep down on the tabs and like just search for the reports which you want. So we have pre-configured more than 80 reports under a bucket, which would be handy for you for the audit and compliance part as well. So now let's come to the manager tab. So this Arcon as administrator is one of the user who gets this function, which is called as manager tab. So this server manager is the admin console. Okay, and we have all the features listed over here. I'll just go deep down into the server manager so that you get an access like view, or like how does it looks and feel like. So I'll just access the server manager. So basically it will launch the administrative console for me. Okay, and it will so this is the administrative console which looks alike. So right now on the top, if you see, like you get the line of business drop down here. One moment, that pop-up is showing on top. I'll just, yeah. So now if you see, this administrator has the visibility for both the line of businesses. So in this demo environment, I have on-prem as one of the LOB, Arcon Cloud as one of the LOB. I have kept it. So I just for an example that we are multi-tenant compliant, This is one of the example from where like you can have a view on each and every LOB what is happening. So right now I have selected on-prem and LOB. I'll go to manage logs, view service logs. So this is one of the logs from where I would be able to get an access, like whatever servers were accessed in today's date under this line of business. I'll get each and everything listed over here. So right now if you see like all the details like user ID, user display name, user machine IP, user local addresses, like connection details what they have established, server host name, the service login time, service logout time, everything, like everything is getting captured on this window. On top of that, what you can do, you can just do a right click and you can view the video logs. So I'll just show you how the video logs look like. So you need to do the right click, and for that session you would be able to see the video log, whatever activity which was performed by that user for that session. So this is one of the example of the historic logs which was played. This is one of the examples. So let's assume like this is one more video recording which we took, which we take connection to. So this was the first connection which we took, and you can see like I have opened the notepad, then I have typed this is something test session, something like that. So whatever my keystrokes, whatever my keyboard activities which was generated, I can view the video recording for each and every like keyboard and mouse activity which was there. So if you see, everything is getting recorded here, and it is, you can see in terms of video logs. So this is one of the functionality which is widely used by all the almost all the clients of us for the audit and compliance part, and also they do the investigation on this. So let's assume like for example a specific server, okay, 10.10.2.2.109, something like that. I just need to have a filter on this. So I'll be able to view this like on this server, what all users have connected, at what time they have connected, and what like how much the session length was. So for further narrowing it down, I would be able to view the video recording of that server. Okay, so right now what we can do, I can show you the video recording for the Linux connection. So this is like I'll just do one thing, I'll just filter it out, and I'll just give an example of the today's session which we executed the commands. Okay, so right now if you see like we have open show details. So right now if you see, these were the commands which was executed by this user: ls, date, ipconfig, chmod. So you can also like, based on the criticality, let's assume chmod is one of the critical command, and you can directly like show that, and you can directly go to the show details. So what I can do, I can click on the view video logs, and it will take me to that video log, whatever activity this user has performed on this session. This, if you see, this is a command line session, but still we are able to see the video logs on top of it, and we are also able to see the command logs as well. So this, whatever user has performed on this, whatever command he has performed. So if you remember, this is the session which I just brokered few moments back, and these are the like sessions, like whatever activity which I was performed, you are getting all that details on this server. So even the, if suppose the command is restricted, you will get the in the command logs that you have executed the restricted command or something like that. I'll show you that as well. So this was the video recording for the Linux connection. I'll just show you the how the command logs look like. So this you just select the filter, and you just select the view log. So here if you see, you see all the commands which was executed right now. So these are all the list of commands. Again, if suppose you want to do some filter on the based on the command, you can just check like which command has executed by which user and at what time. You can also filter it down with the command logs. So this is one of the logs type. On top of that, we also give the user access logs. So for example, what all users logged in today in Arcon PAM, from what was the machine IP, what was the type, all details you get it from the command logs. So we have a lot of logs which we have created. Service logs we discussed, service reference log, password status, every log which you get is like mentioned over here. Now I'd like to show you one very good feature of Arcon PAM. Okay, I'll just show you one thing. So let's assume like David Jones is one of the this administrator of mine. Okay, and he is taking connection to some server. Okay, and now the connection is established here, and now let's assume he is opening some registry details. He is opening some reg edit. So let's assume this could be critical on servers, right? This registry on the administrator. Now if you see, let's assume this is a different system. I go to tools, real-time session monitoring. Okay, here I get there is one session active. David Jones is logged in. This is the session IP, every details like connection type, RDP, server IP. Now I just want to see what he is doing at real time. So I'll get his screen, like whatever screen he is on to, I would be able to monitor it real time. So now if you see, I'll just expand this, assuming David Jones is doing something in the system under something this, you will be able to monitor this real time. So you see, so let's assume like David is doing something very critical and he is not meant to do that as an administrator, let's assume. So what you get as an PIM administrator, you get an option to log out the session, you get an option to freeze the session. So you have both the options. So suppose you chose to freeze the session, please contact, you can write a note, your administrator, you are not allowed for this activity. Okay, so I'll just type a note and I'll just hit OK from my administrator. So now if you see on this actual session, I'll get one pop-up like this. Please contact your administrator. You are not allowed for this activity by Arcos admin. So now if you see, like whatever I do, I don't have the connect controls on this session. So even this is getting everything is getting controlled by the Arcos administration. We called it as a real-time session monitoring. Now let's assume like I went back to the Arcos admin. I told him that it was for a session. It was a scheduled activity for testing the some registry entries, for example. So now I decided to unfreeze him. Okay, now he can go ahead and continue with his work. So let's assume like there was some work. So this kind of real-time session monitoring, it's kind of CCTV on inside the infrastructure, like what users are doing. So this is one of the key features which he use. And let's assume like if suppose you want to log out this session, you don't want him to continue from here you will get the pop-up. Now if you see, your session has been logged out, your session will terminate in like this seconds. So you don't have any other option except close. So this is one of the example of real-time session monitoring which I just gave you, which like most of the users use it. So that was one of the example of real-time session monitoring. Now I'll give you one example of like how this different user. Now just come to this point, line of business. Arcon LOB is name is Arcon on-prem. I'll show you how we can do a like two-factor authentication and how we can do the Active Directory login. So let's assume there is one user with my name, Zuber Shikalgar. Okay, and I'll just enter the password. And now if you see, I am a domain user. I'm not a normal user. I use my domain credentials. I have integrated my domain with this demo environment. So now if you see, I have integrated this with my two-factor authentication solution. I'm using Google OTP over here. Okay, I'll just enter the OTP so that it will take me to the My Access screen. So now it will validate the OTP. And now if you see, I am allowed to My Access screen. Now if you see, like Zubair is a part of Arcon Cloud LOB. So he don't have the visibility of Arcon on-prem resources. So similarly, whatever cloud resources are assigned to me, same thing, like as a Zubair as an administrator, though David and me both are the administrators, but both have a different visibility onto the, like David has a visibility on on-prem resources, Zubair has a visibility on cloud resources. Similarly, the service types, which is like under my drop down, you will be able to view all the service types which is assigned to me. I'll just select all, and I'd like to give you one example of a third party connector. So right now, I'll just give you an example like how it works. So basically, in a real-time environment, in a real organization, it is very like difficult to convince an administrator, to convince a DBA to use something related to security, for example. So let's assume like I am a DB of your organization, okay, of a factorial group. Let's assume that, and I have a habit of using MS SQL Studio for my MS SQL database. Okay, so if tomorrow, if suppose you bring some solution which says that you have to stop using MS SQL, you have to start using something new, I would be very reluctant. I would not be happy for adapting some new thing, because I have a habit of using that application from last 10 years. Let's assume that. But we as an Arcon, we provide that flexibility, because we have more than 500 list of connectors under our bucket, which I'll show you in some time. But right now, if you see, like I'll come back to a example. I am a DBA, okay, and I have a habit of using my third-party connector. So as Arcon PAM, what it does, it will launch the third-party application on my screen, on my machine. Now, if you see, it has launched the third-party application. It is doing the auto login. It will do the connect, and the session is established for me. Now, if you see, I just did one click and it launched the third-party application. If you see, this is a third-party Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio application for connecting my database, one of the database. But through PAM, I have taken the connection. I have invoked this application through PAM. So this is one of our unique USP. We are very open and flexible with the third-party connectors. I showed you two examples of third-party connectors. One was the app Venus CP for transferring the files. And this is the second example where, like, assume I am a DBA, like whatever activity I am doing, everything is getting recorded. Whatever commands I'm executing, everything is getting recorded. So let's assume like I execute one query. For example, select star from one moment. It is the different database. So whatever, be it like whatever activity I'm doing, everything is getting recorded. So I executed some commands. Let's assume like SSO underscore user, something like that. I executed this command. So whatever commands even I'm getting executed, whatever queries I am executing on this thing, everything I have a view on top of that. So let's assume like I have a DBA and my daily activity is to take a backup of something like that. And if suppose a DBA is stating that he has taken a backup, you have a video recording of each and every activity which he has performed. So for investigation, you can use that video recording, or like you can show it to the DBA that this is the activity which you have performed. So that is one of the example for like connecting to the third party application. Now, like during the presentation, I told you that we can integrate any of the web applications. So I gave you one example of my on-premise lab of EXXI. Now I'll give you one example of a AWS instance which gets connected. So now if you see, like we are all aware of this AWS console, right? For accessing the cloud console for the AWS. So what Arcon will do, Arcon will launch a connector. Okay, now this everything is automated. We have used robotic process automation to achieve this, for doing the single sign-on for this connection. So now if you see, it has launched the URL, it has entered the credentials, and this is a SaaS application, a web application globally used, and we are able to do a single sign-on in top of that as well. So now if you see, I'm not doing anything. It is all like doing with the RPA, robotic process automation. It clicks on single sign-in and it handovers the connection to me, so that whatever activity inside this I am doing, now whatever screen activity which I am performing as a cloud administrator, for example, even that is getting recorded. So this is even on the third party applications, SaaS applications, global known applications, we can do a single sign on top of that. So now if users is doing anything on this, everything is part of a video log. You get everything, every recording for that. So even that, we have the flexibility of integrating any web SaaS applications as well. So I'll just close this. I'll just give you the demo of this. So again, like if you see under the logs, so I'll just select Google Cloud, Arcon Cloud as an LOB, because I was a part of a cloud LOB. So Zubair, if you see, Now if you see, like Zubair has taken the connection at AWS, and this was the login time and this was the logout time. So it is that flexible. So now if you, I can show you one video recording, how does it look like for the console recording. So now if you see, like it will play the recording, like what at that time I have enabled the MFA to test. So for MFA, what you do, so what it's a smart basically application. So it do the authentication, but it realized that for MFA, the connection control should be hand over to the user so that he can enter the multi-factor authentication code. So it hand overs the controls to the user, and then if suppose any MFA screen is then we can deal with that as well. Even that is compatible with Arcon PAM. So now if you see, like all the console activity which was performed, whatever activity which was done on during that session, everything is a part of a video log on the browser as well. So if you see, this is like one of the browser example which I have given you. We have like control, like two of the pillars. If you remember pillars of PAM, one was the single sign-on, the other was the session management, the video recording, the text logs and everything was the part of that. We also covered the granular access part of it, but I'll show you how the configuration is done so that we'll cover all the fillers. And if you have any questions on top of it, we'll take it at the end of the session, even if you have any question on that. Okay, so let's move to that command profiler. So I'll just show you like from where you can like list the commands. So if you see, like under this command profiler, I have created two profiles. One is Linux L1 and one is Linux L2. So now if you remember, like L1 and L2, like for L1, if you remember, like one user who was logged into server, he was like getting chmod as restricted. So this is the reason for that. I'll just select SSH Linux for the service type. And this is the library which I was talking about. So this is like all predefined commands which is there. Here there are three options. N is for none, R is for restricted, CW is for critical with approval. So these are the three types of radio buttons which you see over here. So now if you see, like I have restricted chmod, I'll just show you here. Here if you see, it's in red. Chmod is showing restricted. So that's the reason it was not allowing me to execute that chmod command, because it was a restricted command. So it is just a configuration. So if suppose you assume you feel that cut is a restricted command, or IP ping is a restricted command for something like that, you can go ahead and restrict that command. If suppose that command is not in this library, let's assume that we have almost all the commands. It is like alphabetically arranged. So if suppose that command is not in the part of the library, you can anyway go ahead and add a command. So if you have any custom command, you can add that command. This command will be listed under this list. Okay, and you just again you can restrict critical with approval. You can do that. So critical with approval, I would like to discuss one thing. Like critical with approval is one of a very good feature which we only offer, which is like which can be configured with the help of workflow. So basically, let's assume you have one server owner, and without his approval, that command should not get like executed, for example. So you can also configure the workflow so that whenever you execute a command which is critical with approval, let's assume date is with critical with approval, for example. So it goes yellow. So date is one of the critical with approval command under this L1 profile. So what it will do, it will go for the approval process for that server owner. Once the server owner is approving that command, then only this date command is getting executed. So it's like that. So we can also do the workflow. We can also configure the workflow, and like you can configure this based on your requirement. Like everything is configurable. It is all configuration. So I'll just close this command profiler. This is one of the example for critical with command configuration of critical commands. So now let's move to the password management. So now I'll show you first like how many parameters we have related to passwords. So when it comes to the password management, I can like proudly say we are the leaders in the market, because we have our presence in like almost all the industry, be it a finance, banking, medical, healthcare, insurance, pharma. So we have gone through a lot of use cases, and we have grown in such a way that like if suppose there is a requirement which is left, which is already part of our use cases. So I'll show you one of the use cases how we have. So when I right click this, modify service parameter. So under this, if you see, like we have a lot of password related configurations. So first thing is allow password change. So this is something which is like a password. If you want to hand over that password change module to Arcon PAM to take care, you should just click this radio button and that's it. If you there are few options which are related to password change itself. Change password on session disconnection, allow auto healing, allow reconciliation. So these are very like good industry features which we have developed, which is related to password thing. And this is password age. If you see, this is minimum age and this is maximum age. So in your like organization, let's assume for the Windows server, you have a password policy of password expiry for that server account. For that it's like, for example, 45 days usually, for example. So you can just select 45 from the drop down. Okay, so now what it says that the password policy for this server is 45 days. So what Arcon does, Arcon sends that the password is going to expire on the 45th day if it is not getting vaulted again, it is not getting changed. Arcon go ahead and vault the password before it get expired. So it's that smart. So it sends that what is the password age, and according to that it takes the action. So it will not allow that password to go beyond the password policy limit. So in your case, if suppose it is 90 days, you just configure it according to that, and Arcon will take care of the password process, change process, whatever it is there in your organization. So what security wise, what it does, the password is not known to anyone. That is the one thing. The password is only known to Arcon PAM, and the administrators, they are not keeping the track of the password on some Excel or some notepad file, and they are not able to share it internally within the organization. So this is one of the key feature which we have, which in which the password change would be automatic. You just need to check this box, allow scheduled password change. The next time it will do the automatic password change for you. You don't need to worry about that server. So it's that simple. So this is related to the password change. I'll show you the password change module. How does it work? From where I'll show you here. So this is a password change window. If a administrator want to rotate a password of a server, okay, for a server, let's assume, so he would be able to do that password change from this. I'll just open the LOB correctly so that you would have a look on that server's resources. So I'll go to manage password, and this is the screen from where like I get the list of the servers. I have Windows server, for example. So here, if you see, I get one server. Here is the password edge. So if suppose you want to vault it manually, you would be able to vault it manually. If suppose you want to Arcon to take care, you just need to configure automatic password change process, and everything is like vault, like taken care by Arcon PAM. So it is that simple. So I'll just show you the logs, how the logs looks for the password change. I'll just select a backdate filter. One. So here you get like, I'll just select one more date so that we get a lot of lists, because here we are not changing the password automatically. So that's the reason it's a demo environment. So here, if you see, like these are the detailed logs. So now I'll just do one thing. I'll just click on this server. Now, if you see the password change status, it is showing successful. So if suppose you want to go deep dive and check the logs, if it is failed, you would be able to do that. So that option, that feasibility we have. So suppose any password change process is failing, you can go ahead and, if you see, here is the logs. So this detailed logs you get. So if suppose for any server, if it is failing, you would be able to narrow it down and to find the exact location where it is failing. Either it is failing due to the server is unreachable, either it is failing due to the password policy mismatch, something like that. So here everything was fine. That's the reason, like every logs, it generated the password as per the policy, and it vaulted the password, and it syncs the password back with Arcon PAM. So I'll show you the password policy editor. So in your organization, let's suppose you have a different policies for the Windows server, Linux server, some network devices. You can specify the policy over here. So let's assume your Windows policy is, let's assume 16 characters. So you can select the 16 characters from the drop down. You can select the uppercase, lowercase based on your choice. based on the password policy on your server. And I'll show you how the password policy changes. You see, these are the passwords. These are the sample passwords. But these are the complexity of this password is like this, which is rotated for the password change process. So this is that secure. So based on your policy, Arcon will rotate your server policy automatically. You don't need to worry about the password policy and everything. Everything will be taken care by Arcon PAM. So this was one of the password policy module. So that is one of the module which we have. And on top of that, I have shown you like command logs, application logs. I'll show you how the grouping is done. One part which I have missed. So right now, if you see, everything is classified. So as a user group in my organization, I have a DevOps team, I have a developers team, I have an administrator team, I have a Linux admin team. I also have a vendors. So basically, like what I can do, I can all the third-party vendors, I can onboard this under this vendor group. So I can create this user group accordingly. I have a Windows team, Windows admin team. Similarly, I can create a server grouping as well. So which helps me to classify my infrastructure. So if you see database server, desktops, Linux server, web applications, Windows server. So these are all my server groups. And like based on that, like what user should get which service, I'll show you one thing. So Sam Willis is one of my administrator. So now if you see, he has only one login under his bucket. So now if you see under the screen, this is the assigned service and this is the service which can be assigned to him. So just to narrow it down, show it to how it works, I'll just log in with Sam Willis and show you. So you get a proper view on like what is that tab and how it is managed. So Sam Willis is one of my dummy account. I'll just log in with his account. Now if I click on all service, you see only one service assigned to him. So this is that screen. So you see 10.10.2.217 local admin. So this, if you see, is assigned to Sam Willis. Only one thing. If suppose the administrator decides that that you want to remove the access so that this user don't have the access. Now if you go ahead, I'll just go ahead and refresh this. Now if I go ahead and refresh this, that service would no longer under my bucket. I'll just scroll it. Now if you see, I'll just select nothing is there. So this is that easy to to assign one server to any of your end user, to revoke any servers. So this is just a matter of click. You just need to assign the users. You just need to deprovision servers. So this is that simple. So this was it from the demo part. If you have any questions related to this, now I would be more than happy to answer.